Developing relationships with immigrant families. Quick facts. Number of immigrants or school-age students with at least one immigrant caregiver living in the United States has increased from around 8 million to nearly 18 million between 1950 and 2015. Language is most often the primary barrier to immigrant family involvement in schools. Some families who do not speak or read English have reported to prefer written communication in English, which can be translated by a family member or friend, compared to using technology for communication. Why is this article research-based? This article is a research-based article. It uses a handful of different references throughout the text with facts, quotes, and information about working with immigrant families. I know it is a research-based article because Francis, Haynes, and Negro took other information they researched from articles and used it in their text. American values versus other cultures. Here's a couple typical American values. Change advances development and helps growth. Equality establishes all individuals have the same opportunity in life. And values in other cultures are tradition maintains stability, hierarchy is tradition and keeps order. Learning from school and community members. Once notified about an immigrant family joining class, educators should try to gather as much information as they can about the family's country of origin. Educators should find out if the school has a volunteer who is paid, that speaks both English and the new family's dominant language, and understands both cultures. This will help the educator get more information to help the family accommodate. Educators can use all this information for better communication with families, forming and building positive relationships. Questions to ask school or community members. Purpose. Helps educators explain How would you describe the educational system in the country or region? Helps educators explain the similarities and differences between America's education system and the system that the family is already used to. Has disability generally perceived in categories like the country, region, culture, or religion? The purpose of that is to help educators plan on how to introduce or discuss the student's disability or disabilities. Learning from families. When trying to learn more information about immigrant families, use open-ended questions and try to refrain from closed-ended questions. If the educator is using an interpreter to conversate, make sure the interpreter fully understands and appropriately explains what you want the immigrant family to know. Technology is not a good way to translate when working with immigrant families, as it causes translation errors frequently. Questions asked families. What is a typical school day like for your family? The purpose of that is to help understand how learning occurs in their home. What questions do you have about our school? And the purpose of that is to help helps learn about family knowledge or background of the United States educational system. Finding interpreters and translators. Interpreters can come from other places besides the school, including community organizations, family services, community English language instructors, etc. Working with an interpreter can be awkward for educators and families because the flow of the conversation isn't there. Several methods can be used to prevent this. Asking the family where to meet to ensure they are comfortable, talking directly to the caregiver, asking an interpreter to sit by that caregiver, etc. How to talk about sensitive subjects. Conversation with immigrant families can be hard because educators do not want to offend them. Educators must understand that conversations are used for gaining vital information for learning, not for information that is appealing or interesting. Sometimes using visuals to communicate helps. How does this article connect with the book? On pages 163 and 164 of the textbook, it identifies 7 core principles for effective collaboration, and connecting the book and this article is very clear. The principle of clear communication is key to ensure that the immigrant family and the educators are on the same page. Adequate time is important, as the book states, and as the article stated, it is important to meet where the immigrant family wants to meet and to bring an interpreter and to not offend them. Mutual respect is essential, as the book states, and the article also talked about asking questions to find out more information about the immigrant family to help ensure a healthy, respectful relationship. 3 specific ways to apply collaborative work as future general educators. Willing participation is key when working with immigrant families. This is going to allow you to show them that you are willing to take time out of your day for their child to receive an equal education. It also takes positive attitude. Reflection is the second biggest component as a future general educator when working with immigrant families. And the third is common goals as future educators working with immigrant families is important as well. It is important to share common goals, as it will help with communication and collaboration between the educator and the immigrant family. References are the article, Developing Relationships with Immigrant Families, found in UIU Learn under Week 2 Collaboration folder and Teaching in Today's Inclusive Classrooms textbook.